Hi, I'm Katrina, your Pilates teacher at KN Pilates. Welcome to another Pilates session. I'm delighted to see you here. So, let's begin. We start in supine, so have your feet hip width and parallel, your knees hip width, your hands on your hip connection, and then we just go into a few pelvic tilts to start with. So breathe out to gently imprint, tilting the pelvis one way, and then breathe in, gently arch the back away, and just see how your lower back is feeling today, your lumbar spine. The shoulders and the feet are quite relaxed. Sometimes they want to help, and they don't really have to. So try to keep those relaxed, and then we just focus on the movement of your lower back. And again, as always, you want to observe how the tilt of the pelvis affects your hip connection. You're stretching away and coming back closer together. One more of these. And then we find neutral spine and pelvis, that neutral hip connection here. Remember, there shouldn't be any tension around the hip flexors when we're in neutral. And then come into arm circles. Breathe in, reach the arms back. Breathe out, circle around. And here be aware that the ribs stay in, so the ribs don't stick up to the ceiling. So the arms are very likely not going to get all the way down onto the floor behind you. All depends on how mobile your shoulder joints are. But usually the arms would float quite a little bit above the floor. One more this way around. Breathe in and out. And then reverse. Breathe in. And just notice how this might feel a bit different. But the ribs are still staying in, still focusing on your neutral hip connection here. Good. Then either place your hands onto your hip connection for feedback, so you can feel that this is all staying still, or relax your arms by your sides. We'll go into toe taps. So you breathe in on the first leg, draw the navel in, breathe out on the second leg, and then breathe in to prepare, breathe out to lower. Breathe in, return, breathe out to lower. Yeah. And notice that you're centering it a little bit more on the effort, and a little less as you come back into tabletop, into double leg fold. And if you're not too sure about what centering is, how to do that, and why we're doing that, have a look at the video about centering. Yeah, give that a look at there. Good. So breathe out to lower, and into return. Again, the shoulders are relaxed, the neck is long. Yeah, you always want to have that nice long neck. And notice the navel draw in. And release that a little bit. Breathe into your ribs using your lateral breath. Good, last two. Probably one more. So we want to ideally even out right and left. Yeah, so if you remember which side started, you do one more on the other side. Have a quick rest here. Good. So from there we come into single leg stretch. So you come back into tabletop. You come into a curl up, chin to chest, ribs tips, navel to spine. And then extend one leg and gently hold on to the other. So it's not a lot of tension here, just gently hold on to the shin. If the neck muscles aren't so happy, you can support the head with the hands and just stay here. That's fine as well. Yeah. So from here, breathe in to prepare, breathe out to swap. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you find the hip is clicking a lot, you want to maybe keep the leg a little bit higher up and maybe engage the glutes a little bit more to support the joints. Otherwise, if you find, have the leg a bit lower so you can adjust the intensity here. Yeah. Good. One more. So here again, finish off with holding onto the other leg, not the one you started with, and relax down. Maybe relax the neck muscles here. Fabulous. Place one foot down and then the other will come into side lying. Find your neutral alignment here in side lying. The feet are flexed, the hips are stacked, the shoulders are stacked. You're not leaning into the waist, so making sure that you're lengthening the side of your hip connection. Have your hand on your belly button. Breathe in on the first leg. Breathe out on the second. Breathe in here. Breathe out to lower. Yeah. The leg doesn't lift very high, not higher than the hip. Yeah, you won't be able to get there. If this is still quite challenging, instead of having the hand on the floor, just make the movement a bit smaller, so maybe not lifting the leg as high up. Yeah. Really pushing through the feet, keeping that connection there can very much help, keeping this all a little bit more stable. Yeah. And then here again, just notice that the navel draws in on the effort. So the second leg goes up, and the navel draws in that a little bit more, and releases a bit as we come back down into starting. Yeah, one more of these. Breathe in and out, and in and out. Good. Bend both knees. So here you want to make sure one knee is right on top of the other. The feet are in line with the tailbone or in line with the bum. Yeah, but here as well, just make sure not to relax the waist down into the floor. There doesn't have to be space, but you just want to avoid shortening this side of your hip connection. Yeah. The hand can be on the floor or on your center if you want that feedback there. And then lift the leg without tilting the pelvis, rotate without rotating the pelvis, and then lower back down. Yes, so we have 4 movements. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you try to keep the hip as still as possible, just allowing the leg to move quite independently there. Yeah. It doesn't really matter how much the leg rotates. That really depends on how mobile the joint is. Yeah, so you just work with what's there. And then just breathe in on one movement, out on the other, in on the next, and out to come back. And very interesting here is to make sure to find the same alignment of the knees and the feet. Yeah? And then that will tell us that we stayed in neutral and that the leg didn't extend halfway through. Good, last 2 of these. One more. Excellent. We then come onto our front into swimming variation. Here you want to have a cushion that is high enough to make space for your nose, to keep the neck in neutral, and make it quite comfortable here. You have your forehead on the cushion. You have your arms by your sides, palms up, the feet are hip width. Yeah, starting with leg lifts too, and then add back extensions if that feels good. I won't talk you through this too much, just because the mic doesn't really like that. Yes, so have a look. So legs get started, making sure the tops of the legs are working, so we're not kicking through the knees, lengthening away. Breathe in for a few, and out for a few. Yeah, and then we add the back extensions to this. So you breathe in to lift up, keep the neck long, not looking forwards. Breathe out to lower down. Breathe in to lift. And out to lower. Keep the legs going, even though the shoulders relax back down, keep the legs moving. Breathe in on the way up, out on the way down. And draw the navel in a tiny bit. Last 2. Good. Relax. Fabulous. From here we come on to the other side. So again, find your neutral here, flex the feet, breathe in on the first leg, out on the second, in as you hear, out to lower down. Breathe in and out, draw the navel in a bit more on the effort, Yeah, and use your lateral breath, breathing into the ribs and not into the belly. And if you're not too familiar with the lateral breathing idea, again, have a look at that video. See what that's all about. So making sure not to lean into the waist to lift the legs. Yeah, the legs just push away through the heels, lengthening away, floating up, not higher than the hip. Breathe in and out, and in and out. Good. If you find the legs are floating back behind you, you have to use these muscles at the front of the hip a bit more. Yeah, the legs always are a tiny bit in front of us, just a little bit, making sure they don't float back. And also the ribs stay in. So sometimes, especially if an exercise is quite challenging or we're getting quite tired, sometimes the ribs stick out. Yeah, so again, that concept of a neutral rib-hip connection is what we want to try and remember throughout the exercises. Good. And then bend both knees. And make sure one knee is on top of the other, lifting out of that waist. And then breathe in, and out, and in, and out. Yeah, remember to keep the pelvis still, letting the leg move on its own. And then find your foot again each time. Relax the leg back down. And then once you're doing these, maybe also just scan the body and see whether there's any tension anywhere you can let go of. Yeah, very often that's the shoulders or the jaw or the tongue. Or maybe even just the hands, the fingertips. Yeah, so really just use your strength for the movements and the stabilizing, and anything else that's holding on that's not needed, just let that go. Good. One more of these. Fabulous. We'll come onto the back again. Again, find your neutral hip connection here. If it helps just to do a few pelvic tilts, feel free to do that. Then place your hands behind your head and we'll go into oblique curls. So you breathe in to prepare, breathe out to rotate, breathe in to return, breathe out to rotate. Here you want to be aware that you're not pushing the lower back down. Yeah, you keep the pelvis quite still and quite relaxed. And the arms aren't really helping, they're just supporting the head. You could do this without the hands behind your head. You can just have your fingertips by your temples, also a good option. Yeah, breathe out to rotate, breathe in to return. So here, as well as we return, keep the ribs in so they don't stick out each time. And then draw the navel in a little bit more on the rotation, a little less as you're coming back. Yeah, just a few more. Good. Even out right and left. Fabulous. We then come into tabletop, into crisscross. Tuck the chin in, draw the ribs to the hips, navel to spine. Extend one leg back, doesn't matter which one you start with. You then rotate towards that incoming knee. Yeah. Same rotation as before, so it's not elbow to knee, we're not doing that. Yeah, you keep the shoulders quite open. Breathe in to rotate. Breathe out to rotate. There we go. Breathe in and then breathe out to rotate to the other side. Breathe in the middle and then breathe out on the rotation. Oh, I got myself confused there. Again, the pelvis stays quite still. So if you find you're rocking from side to side, keep the pelvis a bit more grounded there. Yeah, a bit more stabilizing needed then. One more. And then lower down, have a stretch. Place one foot down and then the other. Maybe have a nice long stretch. A little bit of a yawn and a wiggle. Take a nice deep breath in and out. And we're done.